Welcome to the Tourism Hub podcast, a podcast devoted to you and your excellence, providing inspiration and education for the entrepreneurs, experience makers, and excellence seekers of our industry to take your tourism business and career to a whole new level.
Relax.
Hello, everybody. I've got the gold here. Hello, Dave. I've got Dave Hockly from Data Story. He had the audience captured earlier, just before lunch. Thank you for being here. And thank you for saying yes.
Thanks for having me.
Yay.
It's good to be over here.
So good. Look, first, let's go a little bit about yourself before we launch into the juicy parts. Tell me about your background and what led you to start Data Story.
All right. I think I started a company with some flatmates. I moved to Queenstown to snowboard. I broke my wrist. I couldn't snowboard, so I started a company because that's what you do. And that company failed. It failed, and it was a really hard lesson in the real world of business. And that's what pushed me into I needed to know my numbers. I was a director in a company, and I had no idea about. I was just the marketing guy. I was just the hype guy, and then behind the scenes we were bleeding cash, and it was a very real lesson where we got a bill at the end of it, and I was like, wow, this is hard. To run a really good business is hard. And then that pushed me into the world of you got to know what works. Mm-hmm. And so that pushed me into behavioral psychology, but really into measurement. And so I got really into measuring marketing because I fell in love with marketing, but then I wanted to. Yes.
And was that a tourism business related in?
So it was going to be. There was three of us. We were chopping firewood, and that business was called Twin Rivers Organic Produce, and we're doing a gate to plate story. Where a friend's farm had this. One of the business directors was in a family farm. Incredible farm, incredible product. And we said, let's do the gate to plate story, and then we want to do tourism on the farm because it's on the coast of the Catlins. It's absolutely stunning. So we were like, cool, we want to do this whole. We had this big dream and big vision. Yes. But now I look at that and I'm like, I can see from a mile now that business model was going to struggle.
Yes.
So, perhaps we should have started with the tourism. Would have been better off. Yeah. But the other context on tourism is we have a family business in tourism. I've got a degree in tourism. My first job was in frontline tourism. I've been... In
your DNA.
I've been doing... And living in Queenstown, being a tourism town. Yeah. It's just... we've almost just ended up in this space of doing a lot of tourism.
Oh, absolutely. And I can really resonate with that in starting your journey and just how much, on the context of data and story, how much numbers tell the story. And if we're not, Dave had this, if it's not measured, it's not managed, to the point where everybody echoed it by the end of your talk. If it's not measured, it's not managed. It was like a TV. You're like a TV host. Hey, big microphone. But it's so true. So true. So tell me about Data Story and the problems that you solve in the marketplace for destinations and regions, and the way that you capture data and how you translate that into outcomes.
Yeah, cool. Tourism is, I'm going to talk specifically more from a marketing lens first, but tourism, everyone who visits your destination, they need to discover it. They need to know it exists. Yeah. And then they need to plan and consider. They need time off work, someone to look after the cat. They need to choose how they're going to get there. It's a very logistically heavy job, and so typically it's a longish customer journey. Yeah. So what we've found is the way to measure a customer journey is to be really intentional and go, cool, as a region, what are we doing to help people discover the region? And when you get that focus, then you can create a moment and you can be really clear about how you measure it. Yeah. Because you go, what does good look like in this moment? We go, cool, we help people discover the region. We want to be memorable, because if we're not memorable, we're not being effective. We want to reach a good volume of people. We want that engagement. And so we help RTOs basically step through all of the initiatives that they're doing and then help them basically pull people into a customer journey. And that includes going right into in destination and going, how are we performing in destination from our big goals of visitation and spend, but then also hopefully pulling in more of this kind of sentiment, well-being, environmental data to kind of show this holistic experience, but then into going, sharing and rebooking and word of mouth. And we can see when we've got operators with these peak moments, these absolutely incredible moments, how they blitz the web and they drive demand. So there's also another side where we're helping RTOs do like operator training around capturing demand, around experience design, because it's so key to tourism marketing. Yeah.
Talking my language, and that is really important. And we just spoke with Greg from Book Easy. So with distribution and operators actually being placed to capture the data, because it needs to start, we need to take a few steps back in that what success looks like, what does a win look like, and then being able to measure that. If you don't have data, you're not capturing in the first place. So how do you go in? I mean, in terms of for you to aggregate or capture that data and the business being primed in order to do that, what's the connectivity look like?
Oh, it's a big
Is that big?
We're fans of almost like start with what you've got. Like data maturity is like a journey.
Yes.
And different organizations are in different spaces within that. And we're fans of like, well, what can we measure?
Yeah.
And there's some real big, scary, zoomed out things. And at the moment, every RTO has an input to an output. And the catch is that we first of all need to know that input is driving results. If we were to stop doing that activity, would we be able to see it?
Yeah.
And we've got this kind of rule that's like, if what we're measuring, we see a decline in performance and we can't see why, we're not measuring the right things. So we typically want to come in and start this journey of measurement and providing that feedback loop in that type of space. So there's an element of, and then it's further evolving that and enhancing that. But I'm a big fan of get momentum, get some wins on the board.
Love it, Dave. And I like what you shared around, like, if there's low performance, if we're not measuring it against the customer journey, we're really missing an opportunity to fix it. Because it's not just like, oh, we've dipped here, but at what point of that pre, during, or post did that dip, right? Yeah,
totally. And that part of the customer journey is it also gives clarity.
Yeah.
What I mean by this is everyone has a different view of marketing, a different view of tourism and the ecosystem. And so it creates a moment that people can be really clear about what we're doing. Because you talk about tourism marketing, someone will just think instantly, they'll think social or they'll think trade. And they'll just default to whatever it is that they know. Yeah. And so the beauty of the customer journey is it gives clarity around where you're playing, what success looks like, and it kind of aligns everyone on performance. Yeah.
Especially with all this change. So now, like, this zero-click search now, like the AI overview. So when we're measuring data, it's the click that gives us that data. So I know for myself, the last 2 decades of like SEO and do this, and now suddenly it's not the click that's been taken away.
Great. I'm really glad you asked this question because if you're responsible for marketing a destination, your playbook needs to like fundamentally evolve. Because the idea of like we create an article and we put it on a blog and we'll drive traffic to the article and then they'll discover an operator and click through. It's just completely changed.
I feel like it's changed overnight. It's like everything we've been doing, we have to rethink. And it doesn't mean it's just doing it different. It doesn't mean your website is not relevant anymore, right? Can you dispel that myth?
Yes,
should we even have a website?
Your job as an RTO, I think, is to go... This is such a good chat, by the way.
Yeah.
So your job as an RTO is you are the source of truth, the credibility. You're like an authoritative resource on the region. Yeah. So your website should be the source of information for these AI tools. So it's your job to create the content that is going to be referenced, that is accurate, that is reliable, that's going to achieve your destination goals in terms of dispersal, time to visit, etc. It's your job to try and control the narrative, and your website is the home of where that content is. Because if you're not up to date, from what we can see from our research within the space, that the AI, whatever you want to call it, the LLM is basically going to reference the best answer to the question, the most recent, the most direct, clear, concise, or authoritative answer. And so it's not too dissimilar from SEO from what we're seeing in our approach. I can talk more about literally what we're doing in the test, but that playbook's changing. And so I think the role of the website is as important as ever, but the way we think about it, and more importantly, the way we measure it. Because if you've got a goal as a marketing department to go, we're going to run activity and then we're going to drive traffic and engagement and traffic to operators. Yeah, that metric is going to probably and is likely suffering if you're looking at it.
Yes, yeah. Oh, look, and it's almost like without intentionally incorporating a call to action or something, that next step, then we're really missing an opportunity.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
when you have
totally.
that control the controllable is that, all of your assets or your platforms, that is a non-negotiable in your strategy.
Yeah.
Would you?
Yes. So we're probably the other thing to add there is the way we're thinking about a strategy from kind of dream plan book is the plan phase is all the logistical side of stuff is much better done by an AI tool in terms of helping you plan, but in terms of discovery and the desire for travel, YouTube, Instagram, social-led, emotive storytelling content is not going anywhere because that stuff is going to be, we're talking about it like AI-proof content and that people still want to engage with people. And this is why interfaces like Reddit and social are so big for that top of what I'm calling like top of funnel.
Yes.
So I see the mix is kind of changing where it's like as a region, we need to be the best at storytelling in that top of funnel space and creating content that's like hard to replace.
Yes.
And then within this kind of so you could maybe say you spend 50% of your resource on more of this like top of funnel storytelling, and there's lots of different avenues from all your different segments, family, etc. There's so much opportunity in that space to do that well. And then this kind of plan 30% space, we're going GDO. Like we're evolving content strategy, the way we update content and produce content at scale to be the home of everything you need to know around planning and booking and logistically around your destination to have the best experience possible. It's kind of like a customer experience here. And then you've kind of got this book layer where there's almost pushing into like first party data strategy. I think it's underrated for RTOs, actually understanding who's coming to your region, what they're doing, what they're spending, and within that change, there's a whole fascinating space around what it means to drive real demand in that lower funnel space for an RTO. And then, like I said, you've got your experience and your rebook, and that's where that first party comes in, is that repeat visitation space. But that's a big flip from probably a more traditional dream plan book experience share type mix. But we're really excited about the way the strategy should be evolving for an RTO.
And in working with Data Story, do you work with both destinations and with supply, like with businesses directly?
Yeah.
Tell me how, what does that look like? So if someone here going, I've drank the Kool-Aid, like, heck, I want to work with you. What does that journey look like in engaging you in Data Story?
We try to make it really easy. And so the first thing we want to come and do is just like map that customer journey. It's not a huge amount of work, but then we've got a benchmark and we want to backdate performance, and then we can start to like basically find opportunities. We're saying like big doors swing on small hinges, and right now within
you got the saying, the quotables
within your mix, there's like points of leverage right now, and if we can diagnose the opportunities that will drive results for your region, then we can help. Like, we don't necessarily need to do the execution, but we think it's really important that you have a measurement type partner to provide that feedback loop, because we don't do content, so I think that's best done by someone who knows your region and that creative side of space. But at the same time, you need that really clear brief of this is the audience, they've done this, but not this. So how do we design a message? How do we use creative for what it's best for to achieve our objectives as a region? But then we can give that feedback loop, that measurement loop, and actually help evolve that.
I like what you said, like the playbook that you could go in and say, okay, between now and then, this is what we need to produce, and then who's the right people to help us do that from a story or a narrative point of view for that journey. And even when we go, you did touch on events and how important it is for destinations, but also that values alignment that, you shared. It best come from you, the marathon story. I love that.
Yeah, and that's so if you imagine Queenstown has basically said these are our values as an organisation around regenerative tourism, and we actually want people that really care about our place and align with what we're about. And so it's like a running, so people will say, hey, can we do a running event here? And we'd go, cool, we don't just want any old event, we want events that align with our with what we're about. So they partnered together and they came up with this idea of it's a marathon, so getting a biodegradable running bib, and then at the end of the race, everyone who entered the race plants a native tree as far as like an offset thing. And then they use the biodegradable bib to protect the native plant from rabbits, which love young plants, and from the frost. And this is also a unique part of the race making. It's a unique race in a special part of the world, out in Glenorchy. And so it's a really cool way to think win-win, not just, hey, anyone come and run an event, but if you're going to run an event here, let's make it valuable, extra valuable for your people that want to do the race, but also great for the region.
Oh, I love that. I have to go back. I was typing profusely, sharing an update, and I have to go back because it was just like, trying to capture it all. But I like Dave. It's win-win, win or no deal. Yes. Win for environment, win for the economy, win for culture and community. Otherwise, we're not aligned.
In the long run, it won't fly. In the short term, yes, but it's like, I think it's like having a long view where you're going, if someone's missing out here, that's not great.
Yeah. And how are you using AI in your business and your day-to-day? I'm just curious now.
It's wild how much our work has changed, and I think in a great way.
In a great way, right?
In a great way. And that if I look around, the whole team is all using Gemini or GPT very heavily with a lot of our work. And as far as, in so many spheres of our work, it's just using GPT for a huge amount. And what we're finding is, there's a bit of a nuance in it, and sometimes you're kind of doing this really weird back and forth conversation with an AI type tool that's saying, no, that's not right, check that, do it again. And it's this work. The nature of work is changing but from our seat, it's becoming more strategic. And say if we're doing some data work and we need Python, and then our tool can literally write the Python or the integration script, and all of a sudden work's getting less about the doing and more about the outcome.
Yes.
Because we're able to work faster and deliver more value. So it's big time change how we work, but it's
big time change that it's the collaborative nature of working with any of these LLMs is feeling realer and realer, right?
Yeah.
And I'm up for it. But I'm glad we've the wind has taken us here, particularly for anyone that's listening around local council, local government, and data. I get that a lot. I don't want to put my data in an AI.
Yeah.
What is some tips on protecting your data, and should we have that in the back of our mind as well?
I'm not qualified to answer that question. I don't know.
Same. I had that summer because I'm like, why don't you? Someone was doing a report the other day. I said, why don't you just put it through the AI? It's like, I don't want to put my data. I don't want to put my data through that. I said, well, then just change the name. Change the name of the report, and it won't be your data. But that's something I hadn't thought of. I'm like, I'm kind of a bit looser about that with my own, own for reporting or forecast, and it's been extraordinary of what it can come back with. But I thought just now, I'll get your take on that.
Yeah, we are using the paid versions of the tools, and you do need to check your settings. And I do think it's worth being
careful.
Being careful.
Because there are things. Because even from an SEO, and this is again, I know nothing, but you read and you go, okay. If you don't want to keep your website data private, because then you're not going to be that leading authority from a marketing point of view. You want your website to be scraped or whatever, as the key source or source of truth of information. But using it operationally in your business is a no-brainer, particularly as small teams and resource But eyes wide open, who knows? Because now I saw Elon Musk teaching a robot to kung fu, and I'm like, okay, and everyone's going, if you've not seen the Terminator, it kind of doesn't end well. I'm like, wow, it blows my brain.
There's not if you play out a lot of these scenarios, they don't end. You think, where's this really headed? It's not always optimistic. But I think as a marketer, and even just at a zoomed out level, if you think about what we're doing in tourism marketing, tourism is ultimately about people connecting. It's about cultures, and the experience of tourism is not going to be replaced by AI. There's nothing like standing on a street in a crowded market in India that AI or a headset is going to come close to giving you, or being on a beach in a beautiful part of Australia. Like there's not going to be a substitute for that, and our desire for connection and to be heard, or for safety, or for all of these core human desires. And I think as marketers, as long as we can be working within that, that's not going to change.
The human experience,
yes,
human connection, absolutely, and we're fortunate for that.
Yes, and I think it's almost like stuff is becoming more of a commoditization, and so people more and more are seeking out these unique experiences.
Yes,
and that's why we're seeing that trend within this almost like social people wanting to recreate a peak moment. It seems to be a big part of where tourism is headed. And so, while AI might be changing everything, I think the role of tourism and how we, I think tourism is going to hopefully be the anecdote or the
I love that.
Like I think, and this is why I think the regenerative tourism thing is important, because we've got to not stuff it up as well. Like we need to protect these environments and make sure they're actually delivering the experience that people are signing up for.
Yes.
It's crazy how what's promoted as this pristine destination with no one around, and when you go there and there's 4,000 people there, you go, this isn't really what I signed up for. It's not the experience that we want.
Yes.
So it requires this kind of that win-win-win view to ensure we're playing the long game.
Yes.
And in doing so, tourism will become unstoppable as an industry. It already is, but you get what I mean.
I totally get what you mean. It's really important for us to almost, we talked about celebrating, but also leveraging that as leaders, as in a community, that we talk about that, to almost like to create that ruckus of, we're the ones that can give you that, outside of you. I love what you said. That was you said, I want a sustainable holiday experience, and I want to go and offset my carbon emissions. But learning along the way, it's just we can also be educators of that, to come back and change behaviours, to do, to create good or the betterment. Dave, so are you hanging around?
Yeah,
you're here for the week. Amazing. And are you running any more sessions while you're here?
No, I'm not. But I am, now that the session's done, I was thinking this on the panel. I was like, there's so many smart people in the room. I want to know what you're thinking, and I want to keep the conversation going. I'm definitely super keen to keep chatting with people. And
because when we go off the live, it's funny, going through something else with quantitative data, because this is something I've always done in operations, is just interview my clients. I'll just the qualitative bit. Mm-hmm. So I would go and I'd create questions around the journey, but I would do pre, during, post, right?
That's great,
And then ballooning was my shtick. So I would then just choose 10 random passengers that have already flown with us, and then go and qualify, just ask them those questions. We've got 5 minutes, and if they did it, but it had this it had a big win-win, because one, they just were delighted that I called them to see that a human is calling. It's not a survey monkey, and it's not just how did you go with us, or leave a Google review. But it was interesting that even in the post, asking them, did you leave a review? And then if they didn't, say, what was that? Why did you not, so it was gold. So I like that you shared that. Oh, you're getting excited.
So it's underrated, because there's people, when they're traveling, they often want to have the best experience that they can. And so reviews is just a very powerful way to help an operator grow, and it's good for the region if every operator gets better at getting more reviews. And it's a wonderful feedback loop of adding delight, because you typically you want to be making sure your experience is going beyond what's expected. If a hotel's saying, hey, we've got Wi-Fi, everyone's got Wi-Fi. That's no longer a selling point. That's a must. It's the table stakes. And so the idea of if people are keeping on the pulse of, are we delighting our guests and getting that review? And not everyone's going to leave a review, but I think optimizing for that moment is really underrated.
Optimizing for the moment.
Yeah, we literally have an operator training session on getting more reviews, because when you push into demand capture around Google, around TripAdvisor, or whatever the strategy is, it's unreal the value it can do between getting people talking about what you're doing. But that starts with experience design and doing something that's worth talking about.
Something that's worth talking about.
Can I share one tiny little story?
Please.
Because I think we often think that it needs to be big or expensive. We need to do the infrastructure, but it's the the experience design side of it is so like human. It's like people want to be seen. Like you said, they're stoked that they're just like, you actually care.
Yes,
like,
this was it. Yeah.
And so there's this wonderful story. Also, there's a book called Unreasonable Hospitality.
I have bought it, and I can't wait to. It was actually an event about events that a hospitality guru suggested, like everyone read this book. Yeah,
for sure. And then if you haven't heard of it, there's a thing you will now, a thing called the Popsicle Hotline. This is a hotel in Los Angeles called the Magic Castle Hotel. And no offense, you look at it and it's fairly average. Like there's nothing like fancy.
Mid, like my teenagers say.
It's mid. Yeah. But they've created these like a couple of like really peak moments where someone's thought, I'm in the pool. How cool would it be if someone brought me an ice block on a silver platter wearing a white glove? And so they make this in. They had this thing called the Popsicle Hotline. So if you're at the pool, you go and you pick up the phone, reception answers, and they come out with a silver tray and a white glove. Popsicle's like, 50 cents, 30 cents, bulk kind of thing. Yeah. And this moment has blown up this hotel. And so it's this crazy thing where you're taking a moment that someone's designed that costs them next to nothing in terms of the P&L, and it's literally and it's so at the moment, I think the last year is sitting at number 14 in all the hotels in Los Angeles. This is up against the Ritz-Carlton, the Hilton, and you're going, cool, all these people have done is have thought about my guests and thought what would be really cool. You know what I mean? It doesn't have to be expensive, and I think the more operators that understand that and push into that space of like, do you know what the industry, what you really play in? Because you're playing in like human connection and in storytelling, and you're not delivering a coffee. It's like, say for example, the best cafe in Queenstown is really popular, but I know the staff there, and like Lauren is the biggest sweetheart, and she remembers people's names. So if someone's like visiting a region, they come back on day 3 for their coffee, and Lauren says, "Hi, would you like another long black?" or whatever.
Lauren.
They're like, I fall in love with this place, and they're like, and that's the thing that's bringing people in to feel like a temporary local, to feel connected to the destination. It's incredible, that singular moment, and what that does for all of Queenstown. Obviously, the cafe is now very popular. Yeah. But it's like, they know where they play, and the people running the cafe are like really friends of mine. But they know about designing moments and getting the right people and the right roles to deliver that. And so I think a whole region that's committed to doing that uniquely, like you, not trying to copy, not trying to do something because a book said to, or because you heard it on a podcast or whatever. It's like going, let's actually be part of our place and think, how would we do that in our way? And turning up in that moment like only you can. Yeah.
And this is it, like the Lauren effect, right?
Yeah,
the Lauren effect.
I like it.
So is that something that is something you can teach, or is that something that's within? Because, and for organizations with that expectation, like if we want to Laurenify our organization, like we have to set those expectations, or we leave them to chance that you've just got a good human that gets it and is really good at remembering names and knows that has a ripple effect.
Yeah, so there's a few things there, which one is obviously culture is huge and a whole nother podcast. But what I would say is, I'll give you a couple of small examples. So say, for example, how do you say it, Pré-Dimanche, like a French cafe. They've got a program where they give all their frontline staff $10 every day that they can give to a staff member. And they can use it however they like. And so you can see someone's having a hard day, and they say, and they go, hey, this one's on us, because you can just see that they're having a hard day. Well, they're flirting with a girl, and they say the coffee's on me because they're into the whatever. And so, but what that does is that empowers the staff to deliver peak moments, but the staff love it. It's a pilot of their job, is giving away their credit that day. And so it's this beautiful mechanic. Or when we think about optimizing for reviews, a lot of like tour companies, etc., will basically give a monetary reward to the staff. If you get your name mentioned in a review, we'll give you whatever it's $20, $50. And so the staff have got this literal incentive to deliver a great experience. And so part of it is this organizational design of kind of going, well, let's share the reward. If we want you to work hard and keep this culture, it's also about, like a data story, we measure staff happiness, we measure the culture, and we cap that. We don't allow people to do overtime. Like we tell them to stop working. And I'm not being
within your
This is
own
with a data story. I'm just
organisation.
saying, for example,
Yeah.
but it's because I know, like, long term, the staff are happier, the team is happier. In the long run, we can deliver better work if the team's happy. So it's also about putting those guardrails in to protect the Laurens, and to make sure the Laurens are rewarded, and you got to take care of your Laurens.
Yeah, you've got to take care of your
and
Laurens.
celebrate your Laurens,
Yes.
and give them the like design machine to work for them. So.
Yes, that's a win-win in itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
Win-win-win. I think you've got a whole other kind of avenue for your business, the data story within culture.
Yeah, I love
like you've got a whole other thing, because I think any organization, like, that's a really tricky thing, like, to be able to use those metrics to measure happiness.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, say, for example, with that review thing, we've kind of said, well, if you measure, you manage it. So to operators, we've said, are you measuring the number of reviews you get?
Yeah.
And we've developed a metric called a review conversion rate, which is we take your number of guests versus the number that left a review, and voila, we have the conversion rate. And so as we track this over time, and so we did this with an operator, and then they entered, and I said to them, like, hey, we were looking at performance, like, why is performance down? They got a 1-star review on TripAdvisor. It's the only thing we could correlate to the drop in performance. It was like, wow, TripAdvisor might play a bigger role in planning what we do in this place. And then anyway, but they did that. They incentivized the staff, and they literally, like, took their conversion rate and ramped it up. And it was incredible how every area of marketing gets easier when people are talking about your product. And so the reason we got here is because we can drive demand and awareness, but if in terms of that consideration conversion space, if you don't have the credibility, the social and trust proof, like, every business says they're good, but if your customers are saying it for you, nothing is more powerful.
Nothing is more powerful.
So as we look through that full cycle journey measurement, like, for most organizations, that's their opportunity.
Yes.
That's not always the case. Some organizations have an incredible experience, and more people just need to know about it. They've got an awareness problem.
Yes.
But it's about being able to diagnose that and going, cool, you've got this, like, an underrated service, an underrated experience. But you're a hidden gem, like, and so, but it's about right sizing that. And some organizations are going, cool, here's your metric, review conversion rate.
Yeah.
You go and like fix that, because we can do everything else, but without that, we won't see the ROI.
No, and it's powerful. It's so powerful. We did, like, here we've got the Brownlow, like, it's like an AFL football thing. So it's an event, and everyone gets 3 points during a game, and then at the end, I mean, I'm sure all sporting codes have something. I think like soccer have the balloon, whatever it's called. I can't pronounce it. Anyhow, with the reviews, we had dropped the ball. This is with the ballooning, so we were no longer in top 20 competitor. So it's like, how can we incentivize? And did the same thing. And at our end of year Christmas party, it was in third place. This person, and it really, especially when for operators that you're not always all together outdoor nature based, we're not always seeing our pilots and our ground crew. It was actually a really good cultural uplift when you could celebrate, Stoney, you got a name, you got mentioned in TripAdvisor or a Google review. It was a really positive thing internally, just as much. That's an extra. That's a few extra wins, isn't it?
And that's the culture piece. Like, you're celebrating this. You've got a number, and you put it up and said, "Let's go hit it."
Yes.
And then you've celebrated it. Yeah.
I've got one more question, and then I promise. I think this is the longest artful chat. So with that travel. So in, I think it was Tourism and Events Queensland, they have a transformational experiences by design, and they've got it's 5 stages. So the dream, book, plan, experience, and then dream, book, plan, experience, and then advocate.
Yes.
Do you work on the same? Rebook or share?
So in 2012, Google released this thing called Micro Moments, and they I think really popularized the dream plan book experience share moment within that space. And so we did within our work with DQ, with Destination Queenstown, we actually took that and adopted it to our new goal. So instead of dream, we want them to discover Queenstown and our new way of travel. And
rather than just dreaming.
And so these are the kind of the subtle shifts. So I think when it comes to a customer journey, so I've got a diagram around, like, a more specific customer journey, and that you typically ask, what are the steps that someone must go through to have their dream outcome.
Yes.
And so you go, cool, well, they first need to know we exist. They need to consider it as a conversion decision-making moment. And then they need to, there's pre-destination and destination, post-destination. And you can break it down as, you can zoom in or zoom out. And so I think I'm either like, yes, use the generic, use that framework because it's really helpful for what success looks like. We're not trying to reach a big volume of people here. We're trying to plan. We're trying to expose them to more product, increase their length of stay, increase their spend, and expose them to the right product, the right ways of travel, so they have the best experience here, so they're more likely or whatever. And so how we measure success changes in that moment. But I know I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but what I'm trying to say is the framework, for your organization, you need to modify the framework to be relevant to your customer journey or relevant to your customer type, and use your own language and bring them around that. Like a DQ, we call it the circle funnel. It's just that's our internal language for the model that we've kind of adapted and evolved over time. But it's I'm a little bit like, take ownership of it. The theory is really simple, and it's just about getting people to understand and think through. Yes. Because the customer journey drives everything we do at Data Story. It's like we hang our hat on like, this is the secret to better measurement, to better strategy, is like understanding that and designing the moments that move people through that journey. Because all of a sudden there's a nuance there as well. When you put data is a snapshot at a moment in time, and that's capturing how someone thinks or feels or an action at a certain time. And as soon as you put that in a journey, you've got what the next steps look like. Otherwise, you've got this data and it becomes totally unactionable because. So I'll give you a little example. So say, for example, you do your post survey, your qual survey. When you do that survey, determines the response. And so as a region, if you interview someone while they're just leaving the destination, it will give you the context. This is someone's perception of their holiday while it's fresh on their mind. Through the peak end rule, they'll remember the peak of their time and they'll remember the end of the time. But if you do that same survey 3 months' time, it will give you more. Now that the time's settled, they've gone, they've seen the bill in its entirety. That insight will give you perception as to how do people feel about our destination versus the price and the time and the effort now that they're back home. And so what I'm trying to, it's just a small example of saying when you, that timing thing, and the idea is when you've got the customer journey, you've got a narrative, and you've got what success looks like. I know that's getting a little bit theory-esque, but that's a big part of it. Is as soon as you're in the customer journey, you've got clarity. You know what the next step looks like.
And as a destination, like as an operator, that is more control than in a destination sense.
Yes.
So, like for a destination to be able to do that and go, who visited, how can we go? It's still working all together. It's through the end user in the front line, the Lauren, can feed that back. That you can then aggregate that. I guess the journey as a collective, that out of this amount of visitors that visited Queenstown or Hahndorf. Like this was generally the experience that they had. But, I know in my time, the qualitative, it's probably we're oozing opportunity here to do better.
And
because it's not really being done either because we're stretched and under-resourced.
Yes,
but there's
lack of priorities is there. Tim Ferriss is going to say is like busyness is a lack of priorities. It's really hard.
Yes. So there's a lot there to unpack. I'm so glad we made it happen this year to sit down and have a chat. You're fantastic, and I'm going to departing. I guess the other mic drop that you did right at the end of the panel session that I loved was that. Understanding that as businesses, as destinations, like you said, you are not the hero. The destination is not the hero. As long as the visitor is always the hero in this journey, where we're talking about the pathway to purchase or convert, whatever we want to call it. Like if we think about them, that's a win already.
And then thinking aloud, it's like going, the hero, the customer is going to discover, consider, convert into destination, and you could almost write a narrative around transformation. How do we want our guests to feel after having been in our
Yes.
And then tourism motivations, we know we have a desire to reset, or like a desire to be energized. I want to escape the day to day. I want to go somewhere new. Or we have the desire to kind of wind down. Like typically it's wind up or wind down.
Yes.
Or it's usually both. And so we go, I want to just relax. I just want to be looked after. I want the massage, the escapism draw of tourism. And so I was thinking about, if this is how we want our visitors to think, talk, and feel about it, what's the transformation and what's the things that we want them to overcome to get there? Like this is real like story narrative stuff, but you could literally journey map like a region and start to think about and this is the holistic view, because then you think about the traffic, the actual the moments outside of the operators that makes an entire destination truly transformative. And because that's, I mean, I don't want to, it's not always about transformation or everything that's like this deep, but I do think, I'm just waffling now, but you get what I'm talking about.
I'm also, while you're talking, you know, I put myself in the visitor's shoe. You know, I've just recently gone interstate. I feel like no one cared that I was there. No one got in touch. No one, you know, like, so when you say like, to surprise and delight, it is actually the smaller things that are going to make the greater difference. So when you think about moments or memories or, you know, a connection with place, it's the places that made you feel seen and cared for and almost even loved. I know it's getting really deep, but that's what, I think of Cappadocia in Turkey as one of the best places I've ever visited. Why? Because at every touch point, I had Lauren effect.
Yes, I love it.
You know, like I was there with young children. They'll come and just give me a cut up orange. Just because they saw their young kids there, you know, like just a different level. And I always say this too. I'm not saying like go and get blanket. You know, like the kids will fall asleep because we're at having dinner. They'll bring a blanket. They'll put like just. It wasn't just one random act of care factor. It was at multiple touch points, because they're like, you could have gone anywhere in the world. You're here from Australia. You've come all this way. Yeah. You know, they're just like, we're so grateful. And I think, and that's what I want. Oh my God. Thank you for anyone that's hanging around. But it's more like that sixth step that I talk a lot as well, is that thank you stage. How we actually expressing gratitude in that transition to actually say, thank you for your business. Thank you, because you could have chosen another 5 ballooning operators. We do the same thing, but you chose us. Yeah. So anyway. You're pumping me up for tomorrow. This is good time. Well, thank you again, Dave Hockly at Dave Story. This was Dave's story. Data Story. They can find you on LinkedIn. This has gone live on LinkedIn and all on the other platforms. Well, enjoy the rest of the convention. Thanks for the chat. I'll have some more incredible humans of regional tourism and destination experience making transformational journeys coming your way. Thanks, everyone. Bye. Relax.